What's up, guys? I am Josh J. Bauer Art, and this is another episode of Back Talk with Bauer. But before we get to the episode, we got the Ravenwolfs on tonight. I'm looking forward to chatting and catching up with them. But before we chat with them, we got to talk about our sponsor, the one, the only Kingdom of Comics. The Kingdom of Comics shop is located at 43 South Babcock Street, Melbourne, Florida. And you can find them at either kingdomofcomics.com or facebook.com/Kingdom of Comics shop. They are an awesome comic shop. They have been fans and friends of mine for a little while now. They have been supporting the art, the graphic design, and now they're officially sponsoring the show. They have been on with the show for a few months now. I think we're pushing 6-month mark, but it is so cool to have them on board and chat with them. If you're ever in the Melbourne area or feel like taking a ride out to go check out the Melbourne area, you got to check out the comic shop. You go in and it's a big open space, very comfortable. There's a freaking bar there. You can go and sit at the bar. You can buy a graphic novel and a drink and have a good time. They got new comics. They're an authorized CGC dealer. They got toys, graphic novels, rare collectibles, pops, statues, back issues, and so much more. That is actually where I got Raphael from, is Kingdom of Comics. They also have, if you show up on a Friday, they have half off any beer with the purchase of a trade paperback or graphic novel. So again, beer and a drink, or beer and a drink, or beer and a read. So they've also got drinks to go deals. And then I messaged the king himself to go, hey, what are we plugging tonight? What are we chatting about? He wanted to let you guys know that Keanu Reeves has just dropped a comic book. It is called Berserker, and the #1 issue just popped out, so you can snag that. I'm not really sure what it's about, but I mean, if it's Keanu Reeves, it's automatically has to be golden. Also, the recount, this bad boy, right? Meow. So we have talked about this show on a couple of times. I've got my signed autograph version from the cover artist himself, John Hendrick, and another person that was a part of the comic. So I got my signed one, but you can get your copy now. This is an exclusive variant cover that you can only get at Kingdom of Comics. So head over to kingdomofcomics.com to purchase this bad boy and so much more. Let them know that Back Talk with Bauer sent you. Jason may throw in a deal or something, or, you know, if he's into being a gracious king that day, he may help you out. But yeah, support the people that support me. Other than that, let's get this show on the road. What's up, guys? It's Josh of J. Bauer Art, the host of this show I call a show. This is Back Talk with Bauer. We're on episode number 47, and I hope you guys are doing well. Thanks for tuning in. We got 7 people watching already. Hello to the one and only GW Pomichter, sir. Thank you for popping in. Already giving me trouble and all that shit, of course. We've got Kyle Nunez. We've got Terry MacGyver. Everybody popping in. We've got everybody from everywhere. We got people from Melbourne, Florida, Ireland, and where is he at now? He's in Holland. The one and only Kyle Nunez is in Holland. So thank you guys for popping in. If you guys are watching the show for the first time, say hi, introduce yourselves, let me know you're in. And before we get the Ravenwolfs on, I want to plug some of my stuff real quick. I am Josh J. Bauer Art. The artwork you see behind me, the video intro here, graphic design, art, all kinds of stuff. Even this bad boy right here, I'm starting to paint on comic book covers. So you can get all that at jbauerart.com. If you can't find something that you're looking for, shoot me a message and I will help you out. So for those that don't know, if you've never tuned into an episode or don't realize it or don't pay attention to all the crap I post on every single day basis, I am an artist that used to hit up comic book conventions. I would go and hang out and be part of the comic book conventions. I'd buy a booth and do the artist thing and have a whole fun time depending on the day and the week. And I did that for about almost 7-8 years. And through that time, I got to meet a variety of different awesome people, cosplayers, different people like that, artists, creators, show promoters, GW Pomichter and Hanging with Web Show, tons of different folks. And one of those awesome people are the Ravenwolfs, Graven and Monica Ravenwolf. I have met, I don't even know how long, maybe they remember, but it's been a while. So let's get them up on the screen. What's up, guys? How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Good, man. Good. I'm surviving. Let's see. GW's already causing trouble in here. What's he saying? 47. Oh my goodness. How does he know he's an artist? He ran out of fingers and toes. Exactly. That's why we write it down every time so I don't forget. Yeah, we're almost to that year mark, so that's pretty cool. But thank you guys so much for taking the time to be on the show. And I know you guys always have things going on, but it's so cool to actually catch up with you and chat with you. So welcome. Of course. So we'll bring up some of the art hopefully a little bit later, but I wanted to, there's so much to talk about. There's also us just catching up because we haven't seen each other. Well, I actually saw Graven, a month or so ago, randomly?
Yeah, a couple months ago. Yeah, randomly out and about.
All right.
Yeah.
Sorry, my cat wants to Sorry.
Yeah, we'll have some fun cat shenanigans throughout the show, but at least it keeps the show interesting.
Right. Absolutely.
But yeah, it was so cool to catch up with you and chat with you for a little bit. And it was like totally out of blue too, because I wasn't even in my normal area. We were down in Sand Lake. I was dropping off a piece of artwork to somebody, and we were getting some coffee beforehand. And I like looked in the van that was passing me. I'm like, that kind of looked like Ravenwolf. And my wife's like, because that was Ravenwolf. I'm like, oh. So yeah, we chatted for a good while. So
yeah, I was actually catching up with a client. I was meeting a client out there for some work that I was doing, so they happened to be over on that side of town. So it was kind of just, It worked out casually because I saw you guys walking across the street. I'm like, wait a minute, who are these people? And I'm like, oh my goodness, yeah, it's Josh. It's awesome.
Yeah. It's cool. Very cool. So, like I said, you guys have been doing the comic book convention scene for a good while. So, how long have you been doing the convention scene?
Wow. Honestly, I mean, I know some numbers. What about you? What do you think?
Terribly sucks.
We actually have been doing the comic book scene. I've been in the comic book convention scene a little bit before Monica. I was in the comic book convention scene back in start of 2007. So as on the other side of the table dealing with publishing. So that's where I was. And then, of course, Monica was...
I think like a year or two later.
Yeah, year or two later for that. And then, of course, we just kept going from there, per se.
Yeah.
So it's been a while. I mean, you figure close to over 12 years. You know,
right.
So
yeah, so you were a little bit, because I remember I remember meeting you at a convention, Graven. I want to say it was either Ocala Comic Con or maybe that extravaganza one. I don't know. Yeah. I kind of remember the place. I just can't remember which convention it was. And it was, you actually gave me one of the cool moments because I've seen your art and like I knew you were in it for a little bit longer. Both of you guys were in it a little bit longer. And we ran into each other in the hallway while we were like loading in, I think. And I said hi and I introduced myself and you're like, oh yeah, I know you. I've seen your artwork through some stuff and I really like it. I'm like, oh shit. And that was kind of cool for me to have somebody that's I viewed as been in it longer and doing like, you know, just a little bit more seasoned than I was. It was cool to have somebody notice me. So yeah, I always remember that first meeting with us.
Well, I'm glad I could make a positive impact on you, man.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, I think we need more of that in the art industry and the comic industry and just in general and creative world, period. I don't think we have enough of that.
Yeah, and I think you guys always were the cool people at the shows when I was going and stuff because, like, no matter what the show was going on, I could come and chat with you and you kind of, like, you'd at least put a decent spin on it. Like, because I'd be like, yeah, this is terrible. I'm just having a bad week or a bad event or something. You know, well, we were able to do this and this. Like, yeah. But you guys always have that bit more positive side to the conventions and events like that, from what I see at least. I'm sure. Go ahead.
No, I appreciate that. I mean, we try to. I mean, trust me, there's the conventions are conventions, and you're going to have issues where there might not be the greatest financially for people or their whatever goal they're setting for themselves, whether it be for a financial reason or a networking reason or just, you know, advertising reason. Sometimes it might not always go the way people want to. So it's important, I think, that it's all about your perception of what you're doing. And sometimes you just have a bad day, it just happens, and that's okay. We're allowed to have that. So, I mean, and I've always been a talker. So Monica, not as much.
No, I'm not much of a talker, no.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
easy for me to be the voice.
Yeah, usually when I stop by, you at least talk to like the artist people a little bit more. But
Right.
you're definitely, Monica's always been one of those artists that are like the sit and focus on their work and not do the conversational.
I think I've gotten a little bit better through the years, but
yeah, I've seen you at the last few events that we were doing. You seemed like you were talking more and conversing, and I got to give it to you. It always amazes me that you can kind of jump back and forth between talking and still doing your art. Like, I can't do the two at once. Yeah, even when I was doing the live stuff, I was terrible at it. Like, GW would always yell at me going like, hey, talk to people. I'm like, but I'm trying to paint the pretty picture. So now you guys are both artists. Both have now what you guys have focused on and the stuff that you've been doing has definitely changed since I first met you. Where were you guys? Now we can do, each one can answer this on their own. When did you start? Was it like you were kids and doing stuff? Did you get into it later? How did you get into art?
I'll let you take that.
I've been drawing since I was a kid, so it's
okay.
Since I was a kid, I've always wanted to be an artist. I just never, through my young adult life, I didn't never pinpointed what exactly. Just knew I wanted to draw. And I'm still like figuring that out as I go along.
Right.
But as I go along, who thought I'd be getting into cat stuff? Because before that, it was like all the fandoms and stuff like that. And
right, yeah.
I feel like I'm growing out of that a bit and kind of want to do my own thing. But there's some things I still like to draw, fandom wise. But for me, that was oops.
You're good.
Now, how about you, Graven?
Man, I've been drawing since I was really, really young. First thing I ever started drawing was, I can remember it like it was yesterday, drawing ninjas and robots. I was doing it when I was in, elementary school, just doodling and what have you. So, hey, Keisha, how are you?
Hi, Keisha. Thank you for popping in.
Hey, Derek, how are you?
Derek, the Ginger Chronicles has popped in, part of the HWWS WebTV network.
Awesome.
So thank you guys for popping in.
Yeah, glad to have you guys here. So I started drawing when I was real young. I was a big 80s kid, so I grew up with all the famous 80s cartoons and what have you, and a cult following of that. So that's where I was kind of focused. I always wanted to be a comic book artist. That's what my real passion and drive. When you shred away all the stuff we're doing as adults and everything that we do to pay the bills and all that, I've tried to shake it. I've tried to divorce myself from it for so many years, because I know how hard that industry is, and I also know how much pressure I put on myself as an artist, and kind of come to terms with certain things on that. But I've always wanted to be a comic artist, so that was my main focus. And back in the day, it was about trying to figure out how to make a comic book, how to be an artist. So my big inspirations back in the day were a lot from Wizard. Bart Sears helped me a lot in my art career, just learning how to draw from his tutorials in Wizard, and then learning how to do stuff from the image guys. At that time, I thought we had to do everything. You got a pencil, I got to ink, I got to write, I got to draw, I got to do all this stuff together to make my book, That was before internet, so we didn't have a lot of those. We learned a lot through just the books that we read and the magazines and letters we wrote and stuff like that. So I started doing that when I was pretty young. I would copy artwork I'd see in my favorite comics and try to learn anatomy and do all that. And it just kind of just spearheaded. So that's where I started drawing. And then just years later, I've tried to jump into certain opportunities that would allow me to kind of get better at that. And then, of course, I do graphic design as well as my main job. So that kind of just spearheads together with comic book artwork and creative stuff. So it's kind of what I started doing.
Nice. Shout out to Ryan Permison for popping in. He's a fan of you guys. And
I see Ryan all the time,
yeah, he's part of Nerd Culture and the HWWS WebTV network as well. Thank you, Ryan, for popping in, and appreciate it. And yes, thank you for the compliment on the shirt. This is actually my new No Rest for the Creative shirt that is on jbauerart.com. Oh,
Awesome.
I love these shirts. They're so comfy. If you buy a shirt, go with the extra soft ones because it is worth the extra $5 because, man, they are so soft. But, yeah, so you guys get into doing the conventions together. And what are some of the first ones you did?
MegaCon. We got Matt, Jolly.
Oh yeah. Our first official convention together as a couple was MegaCon. But
I forget what year it was.
I forget what year it was. I want to say it was around 2010
or
2010
Okay.
that we did that one. We also did FXCon as well.
Did we do that before?
We did that before MegaCon.
Okay.
That was a smaller show we did before MegaCon.
Was that the FX Extravaganza or whatever?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that was the one you and I met. I'm pretty sure.
We met there. Yeah, absolutely.
Ooh,
So we
that was one of those fun shows.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's plenty of fun stories you guys have because you guys have been doing it a bit longer. But there's like we said, there's the cons that are amazing and oh my god, you're on cloud 9, and then there's the cons that are like, are we done yet? Can I go home? Because this is just terrible.
Especially the ones where you start questioning what you're doing.
Yeah.
Am I doing the right thing?
Now, are you guys like me? Because I always like talking like the behind the scenes stuff for when I have other artists on that have done cons and stuff. Because you guys, we know how it goes. We've experienced them. We've done the ups and downs and everything. Now, when a con, I think either way, are you watching what people are buying? Like if they go and buy somebody else's art, or are you seeing? Because that's what I do. I pay attention what are in people's hands to kind of gauge if I'm doing well or not. And because if I'm not like selling a bunch and they have a bunch of other people's artwork, and then I'm like, okay, maybe it's the artwork. But if you only see people carrying around like pops and toys and stuff, that's more of a show. There's not a lot of art fans there. What do you think?
Right. Go ahead.
Well, there's times where I'll see people. I watch people because since I don't talk that much, I do people watch.
She does.
And I'll see people with like stacks of prints. And I'm like,
right.
Oh, maybe they'll stop by. I would say 8 out of 10 times they will stop by, but then you got the ones that just keep going. I'm like, damn.
Yeah, that one always hurts. It's like, I know you're collecting, but like not one thing here catches your eye. And especially your guys' wall. For those that have never seen the Ravenwolfs in action, they've got this wall that is, how tall is it?
It can go up to 13 feet.
13 feet. It's a Ravelli.
It's a Ravelli photo backdrop that we utilize to showcase all this woman's beautiful work. Because it's majority of it, it's all her work. I prop a few pieces here and there, but it's always been her work. That's one thing I like to let people know. You know, it's been about showcasing her work. And
and because I don't talk as much, that people always assume he is the artist.
Yeah.
So
I
got a lot of people, I didn't know you were the artist. Because
I get the opposite. I get the opposite. Everybody thinks Kayla's the artist because she doesn't talk. And they're like, well, who did the art? And I'm just sitting there going, me? They're like, well, that's nice. I'm like, oh.
Yep. It's a weird dynamic.
Yeah, they never think I do the art. It has to be with her quiet. And then even sometimes when she's not there, I would get that. I'm like, who else is here?
Right. Or you could be drawing it and they still don't think you're doing it.
Well, and I'm
I've
one of the.
I've been drawing and they still ask me who the artist is, and I'm like, I guess you're just blind. You know? Yeah.
Well, and I think with me is I'm more once I'm behind the table and I'm doing the selling and everything, I'm more out there, and I actually I call out people. There's a lot of artists that are like Monica that they just focus on the art and they're not really great at the communication stuff and the selling stuff. I've had to learn to be good at it. So I've been at MegaCons yelling at people to stop by my booth because they go, "Oh, that's really cool," and I tell them to come back because they keep walking.
Right.
So I kind of throw people for a loop, but that one's it's always interesting with things of that nature. So you get into some of your first cons. How's the first few cons for you guys? Is it success right away? Is it kind of okay, or you bomb the first few? How's it work?
Well, actually, an interesting story that most people don't know is even though we were doing Convention Point together in 2010 and on, Monica's first official show as an artist technically big show was at San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah.
And most people don't know that.
It was a fluke.
It was a last-minute thing. I was working as a editor-in-chief at an independent comic book publishing company here out of Orlando, and we were publishing 5 titles a month. And so we were through Diamond and what have you, and my teams worked on that. And so we were out at San Diego for our first big push. We were doing a tour circuit with different conventions. And so last-minute situation happened where a spot opened up where we possibly could bring Monica. She was coming anyway. But the people in San Diego had worked a certain opportunity with our team to be able to get her
an artist spot.
So she was in the Artist Alley spot next to amazing 2 artists.
I had no idea who they were since I'm a comic illiterate, so I don't know the artists that were there.
Yeah,
and it was
Comic Elite by all means. It was Stefan Roux and Dan Parsons, and
I was in between those guys.
Yeah, and she had a little small 4-foot.
Yeah,
space.
I had to share space with Dan Parsons because it's an 8-foot table, but you only get 4 feet of it.
Oh, those were rough days.
And you couldn't have, I mean, I didn't have a backdrop back in the day, so it was only
what was on the table.
It was on the table,
right?
A backdrop behind you.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I think I had like my easel.
She had her easel. You had about what 10
I had
pieces?
7 pieces and wound up walking out with almost $1,000.
Damn, that's awesome.
I don't even know how I did it because I had I had really large prints too.
Yeah,
I had all weird sizes that people had to get custom framed. So
yeah,
you got to learn that down the road.
Yeah, I learned that. And then it's all like international, like people coming from out of the country. So it was like a lot of people. I had this alien print, and these people from, I want to say, Japan just bought like 7 huge ones of my large alien print, and I think people thought I worked on Alien somewhere.
Yeah.
I just
whatever makes the sales.
I just like, all right, yeah.
And it was before she was getting heavy into the color pencil on black paper. It was still very traditional, and she had a couple digital pieces because she used to start with digital artwork too.
Right.
So it was pretty crazy. But that was a big start first for her actually as an artist, having confirmation that people at a show actually wanted to support and appreciate her work. So that was a big, important show for her. Even though it might seem small in stature, it was a very big opportunity that kind of fell into place completely. And then when we started doing shows together, our first couple shows were still just kind of building the portfolio and getting people to know who she was and what she was doing, So it went well. I mean, it started out well. I mean, it was a slow tier, build. It just takes time.
Yeah.
Right. So to jump from, we're going to jump around on questions a little bit, but we got one from Ryan, and he would like to know, what kind of collectibles do you guys enjoy collecting?
What do you like collecting, dear?
It's a mishmash. Like my favorite sci-fi anything, like my favorite is Alien. The Alien franchise is like my favorite thing I collect. And then second to that would probably be Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
I've been collecting Grogu's because he's too cute not to. Anything like Hellraiser, I love horror, so Hellraiser.
Gotcha.
Ash.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of the anything, and also anything like dragons, Toothless, anything fantasy.
I actually have I have a few pieces of yours. I need to get some more, but I have one of the ones I made sure to get at one of the shows was your Toothless, because it is sharp as hell. I love that. But yeah, and I have to show a couple of pieces here in a little bit. But Graven, how about you? What are some of your collectibles?
Everything.
I don't get a chance to collect as much as we used to, just because of the way the world's been and things like that, and been really busy. And I'm more of those people where I like to get things for other people. So when I try to decide to find something for myself, it actually has to really be kind of, okay, I really do want this and I need to have it type thing. So it all has a purpose. But I mean, it's kind of the normal answer every nerd, geek, toy lover, comic lover would give. I mean, I love Transformers. That's my favorite thing.
Transformers, Turtles,
He-Man. The Crow. Anything that has to do with the Crow, it's my favorite movie. It's my favorite thing for a lot of personal reasons as well as creative reasons. Anything Lord of the Rings, love Lord of the Rings, big Lord of the Rings fans.
You just got that
yeah, speaking of collectibles, I just actually got this one. I took some chances to get something for myself. This is from Weta. This is a Gandalf piece. The camera's a little wonky here, so you might not be able to see him well because of the light. But he's it's a little mini vinyl figure that they do. They have started doing a whole collection of them, especially handcrafted, stylized, hyper stylized by an artist, Jerry Vanderbilt, I believe. Did the painting, and then they did it more stylized, and they continued the line. They have some Ghostbusters stuff. They have some, Borderlands
I'm waiting
stuff.
For mine. I got
Zool.
Zool from Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. I love the statue stuff. I've got a couple here. Well, I got two behind me from Vieira Comics, and I got a little bit here and there. I'm waiting until we get our house, and then I will probably be adding to the collection because then I will have more space to display it. We were looking at one place. We kind of just been online shopping a little bit, and it was one of those houses that kept having like random, like really high up shelves. Like it was a wall, but it created a shelf.
Right.
And I looked at my wife. I'm like, "Ooh, we could get nice big statues to put up there." She goes, "No." I'm like, "Yes."
Who's dusting them? Who's cleaning them? Right?
I'll clean them. I'm all right with it. You get a little step ladder.
There you go.
So, you guys move forward with the cons, and you get into more. And like you said, it was more focusing on Monica stuff. You had a few things here and there. I remember when I first started seeing you guys more often and talking to you, you had a lot of the black, white, and red pieces, Graven. Right. And those are really sharp. Like they're really, I don't want to say basic because the basic's not the right word.
It wouldn't be an offensive there.
It's just more like the shapes, the colors, and like the colors really play into it. And I've always really done those. You had some really cool ones. Where do you guys start changing? Because I know just recently you started doing more of the Transformers stuff, which is fucking phenomenal. And I got to use the swear word on that one. Yeah, the one right there. You started showing those off, and I felt so bad. We talked about this when we saw each other because they were all supposed to debut at a Transformers convention, correct?
Correct.
Yep, and then COVID happened.
Yeah, man. But they're really sharp.
Thank you, man.
How do you get? While you talk about how we got into those, let me see if I can find them, and you can tell us about them.
Yeah, sure. No, you might be able to find them on my Instagram. There should be some shots of them on the Instagram shot. As far as getting into that, it's really weird because I've never seen myself being involved in the fan art type idea. And I'm prefacing all this. I'll definitely get to your question, but I'm prefacing all this because it's kind of important to understand as an artist, and some of the artists out there listening or people that are interested out there, artists that do fan art, they don't always go into trying to do fan art because they want to just do fan art. Most artists are trying to look at a way to showcase their abilities and network, and then it also depends on the public and what the public's trying to see and want and gravitate to and get inspired by. So, I mean, Monica as an artist, she's always wanted to do, fantasy as well as before everybody knew. She's always a horror, and so that's where she really finds her passion into, and fantasy. And so she's transitioned a lot to that. So like with me, my main drive, like I said before, I've always wanted to be in the comic industry, either creating IPs and transitioning some of my IPs into like movies, films, cartoons, whatever medium might get across to the masses, But in the same aspect, I'm just like any artist. I like to draw characters I love, so being able to try to figure that out, I've always spent most of the years that we are as a team because I wanted to put a spotlight on Monty because there's not a lot of strong. There are now, but over the years, there's not been a lot of strong female artists being showcased and being able to have a moment to say, "Hey, they do this. This is what they do, and look how amazing it is." So. I was kind of trying to be that mouthpiece. And then, of course, Monty's like, "Oh, you got to show some of your stuff. You got to try some of your stuff." Most of the pieces that everyone sees are pieces that I've thrown away. and I've basically brought them back. I've actually been in the trash, and she salvaged them. So a lot of that
you're
stuff.
worse than me on when it comes to making stuff.
Yes, I've trashed so much of my artwork that I could probably create multiple books, and no one would believe it.
It's sickening what he throws away.
But to that, I digress. I mean, I the whole Transformer thing. I went from just doing fan art here and there to show people a couple things, for that. And then I got to a point where the Transformer convention came up, and there was a very personal, some stuff that happened in my lifetime during that time. And I just decided, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot and see if I can get into TFCon. And so I kind of challenged myself, because I'm not a digital artist in that medium, in that way. I'm a graphic designer, but I'm not a digital artist. I never had the opportunity to be a digital artist. So I had the opportunity through a series of things to be able to get a digital tablet and start kind of working on it. So all these pieces that I was doing was the first time I've ever done digital. So I was really hard on myself, and there's still a lot of things I have issues with them, but I just kind of had to do the whole screw it. I'm going to do whatever I need to do to get into this show and have pieces to show people, because I didn't want to just show up with nothing, So it was kind of like, I'm holding myself to the fire. I need to get this stuff done. So that's kind of where all this came from. It was me picking and choosing like some 10 of the top Transformers that people may love, and trying to get some feedback, and then trying to put that into motion. And then, of course, Monty just killed it with the beautiful colors and direction from there. And so I tried to create these versions of Transformers. My idea was, what if Netflix decided to renew a new show of Transformers and wanted to pay homage to the 80s cartoon with kind of an updated, revamped, simplified, yet stylized look. So I did a lot of research on a lot of cartoons of them, a lot of art of them, a lot of toys of them, and kind of see if I could mix mash some of that stuff. So that's where that came from and why I started doing that. I still have 5 more I got to finish out color wise. So.
Oh man, that's awesome. And this is one of the black, red, and whites that I was talking about a minute ago. This is actually my favorite one of yours. I don't know if I own this one.
Yeah, that's the one I threw away. That was actually done for October, Inktober. Back in 2013, I believe I did that one, and it was originally sized at a 4x6 size. And I literally drew it. I didn't like it, and I threw it in the garbage. And Monty came by, and she says, "Why the hell is that in the garbage can?" I'm like, "Because it's crap."
I'm like, no.
And she's like, "No, pull it out of the garbage can." And I was arguing with her, and she's like, "Listen,
I bet you somebody will buy it."
Yeah. She's like, all right, fine. I'll call your bluff. You put it up online, say it's for sale. If no one buys it, then you can throw it back in the trash. But if someone buys it, you got to make prints of it and see if it sells. And I'm like, okay, we'll try it. So I put it up, and within 10 minutes, a fellow colleague of mine purchased it. And, and I'm like, damn it. I'm like, kind of scanned it in and made a big print of it, and it's actually one of my most favorite pieces. People love that piece, and has never gotten old. And I love Batman Beyond, so that's just
Well, and that's like when I think of your art until the Transformers came out. Like anytime I thought of your art, that image came to mind.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that was one that always kind of popped in my head. So I'm glad Monica saved it from the trash, because God damn it, man. I feel like we need like a community vote. You have to post it to us somewhere, and we go, yes, you could throw it away, or no, freaking make a print out of it. And then we move on from there, because you were not allowed to decide anymore, sir.
No,
God damn.
He's so hard on himself.
And like I look at my stuff and I'm like, you threw that away, and then I go and make this or print this. It's like, come on.
I think a lot of it came from working in the industry. I was very fortunate to be an editor-in-chief in the comic industry. It was one of my loves. To this day, that's what I would love doing all day long, 24/7. And that's to anybody out there listening. If you want me to be involved in, working as either an editor or a designer or story, creator or content creator, let me know, because I just love comics. I love it so much. I think it gets a bad rap sometimes. I think that a lot of politics get involved, but when it's all said and done, at the core, it's something that has helped me very personally in my life as a child. And it allows to bridge a gap between the youth, young kids, as well as adults and teenagers to learn and to engage into so many things: fantasy, knowledge building, you name it, caring, emotions, moral compass. It all happens, and it all can be done through comics. So, but when I had the chance to work in it and had that dream moment where I was in it for a couple years and meeting such legends and being so lucky to work with so many legends, what happens is it puts a spotlight on you as a creative. So I was doing these books and putting these books together and working with these great creators and writers and inkers and flatters and painters and colorists and you name it, and I'm looking at myself and what my artwork was at the time. And I'm like, I can't do this. I don't have the time to get better. I don't have the time to excel in this area. I was working 24 hours, 7 days a week, nonstop. You can ask her and everybody that was involved. Like, I didn't sleep. I was in the office. If I had to sleep, I was on the couch for a few moments. I was back to work. And I loved it. I never got tired of it. And so when you walk with giants, you tend to reflect on how small you are sometimes. So I think it affected me creatively. Not that it should have, and it sounds bad, but I just kept looking at all these people. I was like, I can't get that good. I'm just not. I'm not going to be that good.
And I hear that a lot through conventions, and even when I post stuff or we're out somewhere and people are seeing my art, and they look at me and they're like, well, I do art, but I can't do that. I'm like, bullshit. I used to not be able to do this. Like all the stuff I've told them that, like all the stuff that I have done now. Now I will admit to people, like a lot of my stuff. My start was my family is good at art. I got it from my dad, who got it from his mom. So there is some talent, through the mix and everything. But I used to not be able to do most of the stuff I do nowadays. And I'm like, it is straight up just doing it over and over again, watching things, trying to learn new techniques, try something. If it fails, chuck it in the garbage, light it on fire, and start over. Make sure we get the committee to vote on it first. But you can't compare yourself to other people. And I even have that trouble. I mean, I've been at a convention and I've sat down or I've walked through after, having a bad sale or something. And I look at other people's stuff and I'm like, well, my stuff's not that. It's like, well, no, it's not going to be that. You got to do your own thing and find your own way and create your own stuff. You can't compare yourself, and you got to stop it to actually get somewhere in life.
Yeah, for sure.
And as you always say, most buyers buy because of the artist, not necessarily always the artwork.
Yeah, I've had that a lot.
Yeah.
Especially at Ocala Comic-Con, it happened a lot. I would run into a few people, and it was older people, and they had no idea what they were buying, like the characters or anything. They just liked my style. Like I had to tell them what the character was or whatever it was, or they kind of had an idea. Like, if it was Harley Quinn, they kind of knew about it, but didn't know that. They just loved the art so much and loved talking to me that they ended up buying something. And then they would come back the next year and see what I had and buy something because they knew from me from the year before. So yeah, there's a lot of that into play too.
Have some memories at Comic-Con.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that. We've had some memories at Ocala Comic-Con. I just remember the guy that said that we needed Jesus because. Did you walk away? I
don't think I was there. I think I have this fun thing. It's a little joke I have with my wife. Because I've always been kind of the mouthpiece, and it's not because I'm trying to overshadow her. When we started in the beginning, that's one thing I like to tell people, and most people might not know, is when we started, I was the mouthpiece for the company that I was working for publishing. I was there to make sure that people knew who the artists were, the writers were, the books were, what the stories of the books were, and why you need to pick it up and put it in your hand. And I had a few moments to make you want to do that. So when Monica started doing shows by herself to begin with, she was not comfortable talking to people. So when we started, dating and getting together on these types of situations, she's like, can you just be that guy? Can you be the manager guy that just kind of talks to the people? And I just want to be the person that does the artwork over here. So, that's what I've been doing for all these years. Whether people might know that or not, it was never to overshadow her. It was just to say, hey, this is who she is, and she's working, and this is her great work, and blah, blah, blah. But over the years, I said, at some point, darling,
he likes to just throw me.
You gotta try. You gotta try to talk to people. You gotta try. I mean, I would like to say that I kind of rubbed some, beliefs and skills off. They're like, hey, this is what you can do. So sometimes I'll see it coming from a mile away, and I'll just walk away. I'll let her. You got the and I'll walk away and I'll stand back just to see how she handles the situation.
Well, it was on a Sunday, so when they came after church, and this guy didn't know what Comic-Con was, just mosey's on in, and he looks at, because all my stuff is on black paper, so it looks very dark and menacing. Some of it does, and it's like
some of it, others is really cute. So
and then he's like, I think you need Jesus. I'm like, I think you need to go. This obviously not the table for you.
I mean, he meant well. He was trying to help you, but in his mind, he was, this is the way it came across.
Yeah, there's Ocala Comic Con. This is getting into some of the fun stories of different cons. I think you guys were there for the year where the AC or something, the condensation that was building up was dripping onto people's artwork. Do you remember that year?
We were there, yeah. And then and then I think the air went out itself, particularly.
The air went out. Then we had the power went out once or twice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Ocala was always interesting. And then we were there. We were both there and in the same room. It wasn't Ocala Comic Con, but it was the same place. It was the Brick City something or other they were doing. And it was like the first one. And we were sitting there. And it was a dead one. There was not much going on. So we're sitting there. And somebody from a political thing came in and wanted to take pictures of people at the booth or at their booths with the sign and everything.
Yep.
And he was getting a little frustrated when we kept saying no. And we were all trying to be nice.
Of course.
And I do love Graven because he stepped up and you're like, yeah, just to be real with you, none of us are going to do this because we're all trying to sell stuff. And when we go and do a political thing, we're going to piss off one side. And you did it way nicer than I'm doing it. I just wanted to tell him to fuck off. But yeah, Graven just did it so nice. And they went away afterwards. So that was fantastic. I think I leaned over to you.
I had forgotten that one. That was a good memory. I forgot all about that. I remember everybody.
I remember the weirdest ones. There was that one. And then there was the Florida Extravaganza one where the artist area was like in another building in the back. Yep. But we were underneath the autograph people. So we were supposed to get people. We had nobody. So we got so bored. I think Bianca started it, the paper airplane that we kept throwing all across the room. And I think somebody would draw on it and then throw it. Yeah. We know how to entertain ourselves. I felt bad. That was one I took my mom to. That was like one of the first ones or one of the earliest ones I took my mom to. Yeah. And she was so goddamn bored. I'm like, I am so sorry. They're usually a little bit better than this. But yeah, there's different. You never know what's going to change a show or the location or the way stuff is or the guests that are there or not there. It's just, it's really a 50-50 chance.
Yeah. You can't foresee. You want to try to. And sometimes over time, if you're doing it long enough, you can see some signs and you can understand kind of what's going on. But you never try to wish ill will to the promoters and things like that because it's a lot of work to do to push those things on. It's a lot to bring it all together. People don't realize how hard it is to put a show together. And how embarrassing it can be when it doesn't live up to what it's supposed to live up to and how it can devastate some of those promoters and those creators after the fact if that happens. So it's rough, but then there's also we're human. And so sometimes people just get frustrated. They get irritated. They don't like, and things start being said and issues start coming up, and so, it was one of those things where it's like, it was definitely, we expected different and it didn't follow the same route that we thought it would. And everyone, we were all trying to take and make it up. I think I remember that was the one where the celebrities that were above us signing, they came down and they were actually walking around the floor, if that's right. And they were looking around. Yeah.
It was a bunch of guys from A Christmas Story. And it actually was really cool because I went up because my dad and I are huge fans of A Christmas Story. We watched the movie every year when I was growing up and everything like that. So I bought a DVD version and got it signed by a bunch of the people upstairs. So I was upstairs and they saw that I had an exhibitor thing on there. And they're like, oh, well, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm actually right downstairs below you. I'm an artist. I paint. And, they're like, the artists are right below us. We're like, yeah. And they kind of were looking at each other, and they kind of like, you could tell that they were bored as hell. So this is one of the really not great ones.
Slow. It was really slow. Yeah.
Yeah. Even the front area where, the other people were, it just not a lot of people came out. I think that was a location one, or
It
like a
was.
location time wise too, because it landed on a weird time. But it was. Oh, go ahead.
No, I think she's having a memory. She does this, so her memory will come back.
No, was it Repticon or?
It was Repticon.
Repticon, where
Yeah.
everybody made table back because
Yeah.
it cost no money to get in there. Nobody made any money.
Yeah.
Oh man! But yeah, they came. The guys came down and started chatting with everybody, and they actually like. The one guy was like really impressed with my art and talked to my mom and like gave me kudos and everything. So it's like show wise, making money wise, it was not good. But like memory wise and like just kind of those weird cool events that you kind of fall into and get to meet cool people, that was one of those ones.
Right.
Hey, were you guys at another fun one? We got
Sure.
one more Shock PopCon. Weren't you guys at that one?
We did. No.
They start blurring together for me. So
Let me
Shock
think.
PopCon was down in it was close to Miami, I think. Not in Miami. It was down south a bit, or Fort Lauderdale.
I remember that one. Yeah, I remember that one. Unfortunately, we didn't do that one. That one was one that was gearing up pretty strong. I think it had like Elvira and a bunch of different people that were involved with the show. And as far as coming as guests and what have you, it was kind of a real like 80s culture type pop.
Oh, they had amazing guests.
Yeah.
The layout was fantastic. You had room for days at a booth that wasn't expensive at all, and nobody showed up. There was like,
I heard about that. We didn't go, but I heard it had some issues from that.
One of the problems, the problem with that one is they put it in a convention center that was in a military base. If I remember, it was some kind of dock. Like you had to show like your license. It was hard to find, and then when you found an entrance for it, you basically had to show credentials to get in, like your license and stuff. And I
know what you're talking about. Yeah,
it was kind of scary. And so I think that hurt it a lot. But to get back to you guys directly, and to get back to Monica, because we sidetracked a bit. Now your art has transformed a little bit and taken a different route, and you've gotten into you're drawing cats, and they're very cool.
They're bat kittens, and I call them Bittens for short. And then so we decided to call them Itty Bitty Bittens. Because if I just left them at Bittens, I looked up the name. I'm like, oh, it's in the Urban Dictionary. It's like the children of Batman and Catwoman. I'm like, so we just like changed it up a bit. But they're all like.
When did you start these?
I think my first one was it the Cthulhu one?
The first one you ever did was a little small.
Oh, it was a little Halloween one.
It was a version of Hazel, but it was before Hazel was redid, and redone, I should say. And that was you did that at a convention outside. I think the first time you did it was at Sci-Fi Bartow.
No.
You sit it down. You were doing it outside. Yeah, because another lady saw you do another one, and she had bought that one. Remember, you sold her that one because you did it that day.
This is my memory at work here. I don't remember.
So I
just remember somebody buying it while I was working on it.
Yeah, so she did a small version of it, and then after that, we had a kind of a epiphany moment, right, where we were at home here, and you were looking and talking about stuff, and you're like, I just want to do these cat bats. And I'm like, well, we got to come up with a good name for them because I think it'll make or break the situation a little bit. And she's like, Bittens. I'm like, yeah, perfect. Yes. Simple. Perfect. Let's go from there.
Then it went to Itty Bitty Bittens.
Yeah.
Right. So just so you guys know, if anybody's listening to just the audio version for whatever reason, you guys got to check out this on YouTube a little bit later on the Facebook page. You can go to HWWS WebTV YouTube channel to catch it there, or J Bauer Art Facebook page, because I'm actually showing off some of the Bittens. Like right now, we're looking at a Harley Quinn based Bitten, and
I just call her Puddin'.
Puddin'. You put so much detail into stuff too. Like we just looked at is this a Demogorgon? Am I right?
I call it a Demi-Gorgon. Kind of like the corny cat fund.
But you have such a cool I didn't even notice this. You got so much detail down here with the little characters and the Coke can and the background. You do such an awesome job with these. These are so freaking cool. I love them.
Appreciate it. I challenged myself with each one because my first pieces going to shows, they were all on just black background, black paper, and it was just like a focused portrait type piece. And so like later on I started like, I think I need to do a background, just kind of amp it up a bit. So now I can't do one without a background.
Yeah.
And now I add paint now.
I saw that one of the last few shows I saw yet. So that was very cool. Has that been interesting to add into it?
It saves the life of my pencils. I don't have to do like
I bet
20 layers of pencil. You know, I could do like maybe 2 or 3 at the most.
Okay. Now, are you using Prismacolor pencils or something different?
Yes, Prismacolor.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I did some of that when I was in high school. I actually started messing around with that first, and then it killed my hand too much. I'm like, no, this is terrible. I gotta find something else to work with. Because
I just
man, you can go
stuck with it like through college, just Prismacolors. That was the main thing.
Now, do you know how many you have made over the last so long? At least a dozen or so?
I know we have like 60 prints, different prints.
He's talking about Bittens, I think.
Oh, Bittens?
Yeah, Bittens.
Oh, okay.
You've done 12 Bittens so far.
12. Yeah.
So she's working on
I can make a calendar if I wanted to, but I'm
Yeah.
trying not to do the fandom ones on the calendar, so I got to do different.
So where's your what's the plan with Bittens? Like, where do you plan on taking it, or how are you trying to make it grow?
I'm not great at storytelling, or because we decided to make a world of it from the pieces, so now I gotta try to make a story out of them. So it's like he's helping me with that because I have no idea. I just want to draw them. I don't.
Right. Yeah. That's where I'm at anymore when it comes to the artist stuff. Like, because I've kind of stopped doing the cons because they weren't working for me anymore. Kind of trying to do just online stuff, and I just like my wife's kind of like surprised that I got back into art because this time last year I walked away from it, and now I'm kind of fully back into it. And my wife's like, "Why?"
The last few years we've been saying we're going to take like a year off, and it's like we wind up getting right back in. I'm like, well, that's never.
It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah,
I've had to walk away from the conventions at least because I don't know what it is with my stuff. I don't know how it rolls. It just and we've talked many a times at many different shows. People just don't want to buy it, and I'm tired of putting all this money into something. And I know some people do great at cons, other people don't. So I've kind of been just focused on trying to do online stuff, sharing where I can. And then like Hourglass Brewery has all their art shows. So basically they're pushing me to do something new at least once a month.
There you go.
Put it in there. Yeah, so I focus on stuff like that. And then if something sells, it sells. If not, it gets to be part of the podcast room.
we find ourselves where we're just kind of oversaturated in some area, like a lot of the shows where like everybody has our pieces. So it's like,
right.
And I don't feel like I'm fast enough to catch up with that demand, you know?
Yeah.
So,
well, one of the good things about COVID, though, is we've kind of gotten a break from everybody. So, you get back into it. Hopefully, it'll be like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, I haven't drawn much of anything.
No.
I've not had I guess my
creative drive
has gone for a while.
Man.
So, I'm doing a few commissions, but I don't know if you saw on the Bittens page, I had the some like vectored
stickers.
Oh, yeah, the stickers. Okay.
I was working on those because I do want to have stickers of the Bittens, but I wanted to have them more of a stylized look.
Yeah.
That's cool. I'll have to get one of those because I got my tablet here full
there you go.
There you go.
So I got a spot for you. I'll get you in there. So yeah, we can. We're almost getting into that last little bit, but we can go a little bit longer if you guys are okay. So how you guys are everywhere before COVID. Like you guys were at as many cons and many events. Like you guys were everywhere. How's it been? Because I think Graven's you've been going more of the graphic design route a little bit like me, and your stuff's freaking phenomenal, by the way. Holy shit. I gotta stop looking at your stuff because I gotta stop looking at your stuff because I keep looking at mine going, damn it. But yeah, your stuff's really cool. So you've focused more on graphic design lately. Is that right? Or
yeah, it's what people don't really know. I guess it's kind of a secret, but it's on my part because all the years we've been doing conventions as artists, our and the goals that what was set in place to kind of help promote Monty and kind of get her going and what have you, I was still doing work, but most people didn't see that. They just assumed that because we were doing conventions, that's us all we do.
No.
But that's not what it is.
Can't make
Monica,
a living on just that.
Yeah, Monica's been in the merchandise, t-shirt merchandise
a lot of
business
stuff I can't show because of NDAs
for years. She's a phenomenal. There are people out there.
Designer.
Yeah, shirt designer. There are people out there wearing her work and they have no idea. There are people buying her work in Walmart right now that they don't even know it's there. And we can't really talk about it because of NDAs and business and things like that. So that's been her for a long time. And on the side note, I wanted to make sure that all the Facebook pages kind of just focused on her art, my art, and that's it. I didn't want to bring in.
Yeah, I don't share my actually what you would call a full-time job on my pages at all. So
because we didn't want to saturate or hurt it. If we wanted to take the focus off of that, we wanted to be focused on what we really wanted people to kind of be interested in, so to speak. But I say all that to kind of help answer your question, because with me, I've been for over 10 years, I'd say over 20 years, I've been a designer, period, for most of my life. Even if other jobs were not that when I come home, I'd still be doing it. So I'm a website designer. I'm a consultant. I'm a concept art designer, brand designer, logos, all that type of stuff. I've been doing it for years, for anywhere that I can do it, and freelancing it for 10. So that's just something I do, but I don't put it out there. So when COVID hit, we in the conventions were, got shut down. And what most people don't know is most of the stuff me and Monica did on our full-time jobs were for the theme parks and for major entertainers in the Florida area, as well as all over the country. So when all that got shut down, we took a major hit. We took a hit from the conventions not being there, and then all of our clients got affected. So that affected us in turn. So it kind of went to this shifting process where, now I think we're going to have to start kind of getting people in the know a little bit. So I started saying, you know what the heck, I'm going to start showing some of the graphic design stuff I do. Some of it I still can't show based on NDAs. But I just figured I'd put it out there so people started to kind of know. So that's kind of why I started doing that. And of course, luckily and very fortunately, the last, I'd say 4.5 months, work has started to pick up tremendously, back. I don't know how. I'm just thankful. We don't know what switch got flipped, but we're thankful for that. And it started to kind of come around, and we're slowly getting back into the groove of things. But that's kind of why I started doing that. I hope that answers your question.
Oh, yeah. It's always interesting to talk to everybody. And I hate bringing up the COVID stuff because it's like beating it into the ground. But some people, it's been a weird, I don't know if blessing's the right word, but it's kind of made them reset and restart and kind of look at things differently and take time to do, like, even myself, I created this podcast. If it wasn't for COVID, this show would not be happening right now.
Of course.
So it's always interesting to talk to all these creative people to see how it's affect them. Sometimes it's a bad story, sometimes it's kind of cool. So I like to at least get that little bit in there. So it seems like things are slowly getting back to some kind of normal, and we're slowly getting to go out and play more. So are you guys going back to the convention scene once it's opened up? Is that on your list to do?
Yeah, we've been, and again, this kind of just rolls right back into COVID, unfortunately, but very quickly to some degree. I've had a lot of health issues the last couple of years that I haven't really put too public, but I've let people know. And of course, some of Monica's family has been affected by, health issues as well in our little bubble of what we handle and how and who we take care of. So we've had to really kind of be careful on where we go, what we do. And it has to be some type of understanding of what we're doing, if it's worth doing, and not because we don't want to do anything. It's just we got to figure out how it all plays out. Right. So with that said, do we want to do conventions? Absolutely. Do we miss everybody? Extremely. Do we want to? Do we feel like we're ready to do shows? No, because we don't really have a lot of new content, unfortunately. Right. So we haven't really been able to do that. But we did do a show. We did The Land. recently.
Oh, okay.
In January, we did do land. I work with Tom on some amazing stuff that he's involved with. Tom Raup, who's a major promoter here in Florida. Amazing guy, great guy.
Oh yeah, I love Tom. It's been a while since I've seen him.
Yeah, he's involved in the Daytona Beach Comic Con. He's involved in the DeLand Comics and Collectibles Show, the Brick City Comic and Toy Show. He's also involved. I believe he's sponsoring a few shows as well as Olo coming up here in March. That's
actually what I wanted to plug next.
Yeah.
You guys will be there, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so our friends at the Orlando Collector Deviants are proudly presenting Olo. It's March 28th, 2021. It's a comic and toy show, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Admission's $8. It's at the Central Florida Fairgrounds, and they've got tons of different stuff, tons of different artists, creators. I saw them at Sci-Fi Bartow, and they let me know. I think they only had like 3 or 4 booths open, so it's going to be a pretty packed show.
Yeah,
you did the logo for that one too.
Oh, you did? Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I did the logo, man. The design flyer and all that for them too. Yeah, I do that, and that's another thing too. Like I love working with conventions. So if they have, if there's conventions out there that want some new branding or want to update something or need a website or stuff like that, let me know. I don't mind helping people out where I can. But yeah, to answer your question for our shows, when we're taking it slow, we've got the Olo one. We also have Brick City Comic and Toy Show happening in April 17th, I believe. We're doing that one. And I believe it just depends on where it falls. It was originally being done in April 17th as well, but they've moved it since. And we're big proponents of WJRR's Earth Day Birthday. And we do that every year.
That's one of our best shows.
So we can't talk enough about that show. Phenomenal show. Mel Taylor, one of the hosts of WJR, a great person who runs the art walk side of things there and helps get things going. So we're going to be doing that. I think it's been moved to October of this year. So whenever that happens, so whenever that happens, we're going to be there as well. And as of right now, I may be missing 1 or 2, but I think Free Play Florida. Free Play Florida.
Oh, okay.
I get a lot of trouble not saying that.
He did the logo and stuff for that too.
I love those guys. I love everybody there at Free Play Florida. Great company, great show. I got
to get them on. It would be fun to chat with them.
Yes, absolutely. I was very fortunate for them to come to me last year, early on, before COVID hit, to do a logo for their new one of the logos, a themed logo for their show that year. But then, of course, everything happened. So they're revamping and they're going to be putting that out this year. So I'm excited to have that little notch there. I'm excited. They're great people. Nice. But yeah, you should definitely get them on there.
Yeah. It's been forever since I talked to Brandon, and he and I used to do Ignition Inc. together. So I'll have to bug him and see if we can get them on. There's like so many people like doing the convention scenes and everything. There's like so many people that I've met and worked with and done stuff that I could have on the show. Like half the time I'm like kind of forget. I'm like, oh, I could have this person on, or I could have these people. So it's always trying to get everybody on as much as possible. But now, where can everybody find you guys? Where can they support you? How, keep an eye out for your next events and buy art and all that good stuff. Where can people stalk you?
where do they stalk us, dear?
I have so many places in my head right now.
But they can only really go to one place because all that stuff's there.
The Itty Bitty Bittens page that I have. Art of Ravenwolf.
Yeah, if you go to artofravenwolf.com.
Actually, artofravenwolf.com will lead you everywhere.
Right.
So
that's all right there.
And it's a great. I was just on it a minute or a day or so ago. It looks great, and they've got all the links on there. And I've dropped the link to that website in the description below, so you guys can click on that. Follow all the pages, like everything. They're on Facebook and Instagram for sure. You guys are on Twitter too, I believe.
Yes, we are.
Yeah,
for sure.
I have to admit I don't even go to Twitter. I have a Twitter, but
I just post on there and hope for the best and hope somebody somewhere sees it. I have like this many followers and like mostly Terry MacGyver sees it. I'm like,
I try to do it where like when I post one place that it'll like automatically go to Twitter, but I don't know if it works.
Yeah, it still works.
Okay.
But yeah, so please follow them. Please support them. Get some artwork. Things are still weird for all of us artists. So please go and support whatever artist you can. If you like a print or even if you don't have money, if you're broke as hell, whatever the case may be, go give them a like and a share. Tell other people to go see him because it really helps. So, guys, thank you so much for popping in. I greatly appreciate it.
For having us.
No problem. I appreciate you having us. And thanks for all the people tuning in and commenting. Kyle and everybody, Ryan, everybody on the list here that I saw in the comments, and Keisha as well. If I missed anybody, I'm sorry, but thanks so much for coming by and talking with us. We appreciate it. Josh, thanks for having us, man. It's been good to kind of chat with everybody and catch up. So
yeah, it was nice to catch up. It's I miss you guys. It feels like forever and a day since we've been somewhere talking. We were at Sci-Fi Bartow, and it was like everybody was so excited to see other people in person. It was, and then like me, I'm still kind of iffy, so I'm like, hey, don't touch me.
That's understandable, man. That's understandable.
Yeah. And then I do the fist bump. I can't stand the elbow bump. I haven't. I'm a guy that was like born and raised handshake. So I have to sit there and think for a minute to do the fist bump. But like people that want to do the elbow bump, I'm like, no, get out of here. I can't get behind that one. It's just hard.
It's hard not to give people hugs.
Yeah,
it's really hard. But
and then there's some people that just
go in for the hug anyway. I can't stop it.
Hello, good to see you. And then like as we walk away, I'm like cleaning my hands with sanitizer.
I'm a hugger. It's
so bad. Me. It's gonna take me like whenever we get to some kind of norm, it's gonna take me a while. Like there's a lot of times like I hesitate and then you also don't know how other people are going to be either. So like, there's a lot of times where I'm just like, I don't know what to do with myself. I wanted to start something brand new, not the elbow thing. That's just dumb. But like, you know, do some Spock stuff or I don't know.
Right.
Or some shit. Oh man. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for being on. Thank you for everybody that tuned in. Again, I am Josh of J. Bauer Art. This has been Back Talk with Bauer. If you like this shirt, if you like the paintings behind me, any of that good stuff, want comic book covers, a painting, whatever it is, jbauerart.com. You can also go on there and advertise with the show. You can be a live read. You can be on the website, all kinds of good stuff. So if you need any of that, feel free to message me or hit up jbauerart.com. Other than that, I will catch you guys next week. Later.